And I just noticed time and time again in conversation, the struggles that people are having, when you actually get down to the basis of it, the struggles aren't particularly about sexuality and gender. So often people's questions, people's objections, people's struggles are actually because they've not got a Christian worldview, kind of the foundations of their belief as thoroughly Christian. And so often their objection is about sexuality or gender, but actually when you have a conversation, you realize what's really going on is we've got very different perspectives on how identity works, or what true freedom is, say, or what real good, or what good progress looks like. And so the book kind of basically is trying to say, almost before talking about sexuality and gender, we need to dig down deeper, because if we haven't got a Christian worldview, our most foundational beliefs in place, we'll never actually be able to make sense of what the Bible says on sexuality and gender. And that's why I hope it becomes quite broadly helpful. I think it's right. It's good. It's helpful for new Christians who need to lay those foundations for the first time, having come from a culture that has very different worldview foundations. It's helpful for Christians just to check their foundations, which I think Paul the Apostle calls us to do in Romans 12:2, when he says not to be conformed to the world, but to be renewed by or transformed by the renewal of our mind. That I think is him, although not using the language, kind of talking about checking our worldview foundations. Are you thinking more like the world without realizing it, when actually your thinking needs to be renewed, reshaped in light of what God says? And I think it really equips us for conversations with people who think differently, because as I say, the differences often aren't just about sexuality and gender, they're much deeper. And I reckon if you're clashing with someone in a conversation about sexuality, you can probably have a much better conversation if actually you can drill down to the real difference here actually is our perspective on authority, or our perspective on freedom. Here's what I believe about freedom as a Christian. Let's talk about that. You can probably have a more profitable conversation there. So the hope is the book just shines a light on this reality of what's going on already. Our foundational beliefs down here affect our perspectives on sexuality and gender up here, and they equip us in lots of different ways and help us in lots of different ways.